Hey everyone. As we're preparing to begin traveling again as resorts and tourist destinations reopen after COVID, it was interesting to see some of the differences in the lockdown around across Canada and even around the world. So I thought it'd be interesting to do some comparisons and hear from my contacts around the world and to see what they had to say about it. So I think we really took a great approach to things. We stopped international travel and closed our borders, not only between us and other countries in Canada, other countries outside of Canada, but we also closed our borders internally. So even though BC and Alberta are side by side, we're not allowed to travel to Alberta unless it's for essential services. So there are some people who work in Alberta, so of course they're allowed to cross over, but vacation? No, absolutely not. A lot of our shops stayed open. Home repair shops stayed open. Electronic goods. Restaurants could do fast food and delivery, or not fast food, but could do takeaway and delivery only. So you couldn't sit in the restaurant. Although that is changing this week as we move into phase 2. Construction workers kept on going. Grocery stores remained open, and anything that was in the grocery store in the past hasn't been removed from the shelves to only sell groceries. So Walmart, for example, that has pots and pans and toasters and t-shirts and socks, any of that is still for sale and could be purchased. Banks remained open, but very limited and restricted access into them. And of course, everywhere you go, there's those plexiglass sneeze guards, they call them, to protect the worker on the other side. And a lot of innovative stuff in terms of payments and stuff like that have been put in place. Unfortunately, the bringing your own bags to collect your purchased items is not allowed. So we're back to paper or plastic, and predominantly plastic. So that's kind of a step backwards. But if it's keeping people from getting sick, then I suppose that's the price you pay. Our numbers here in BC are extremely low. As of yesterday, we had 335 active cases, and we're seeing numbers as low as 8 new cases a day. So we've done extremely well with this, and I think people just need to hold the course. Our weather has been fantastic here with highs of 30. So we are seeing a lot of people out and about. Some people are wearing masks. I think that varies very greatly across the provinces. Here, I'd say less than half of people wear masks. But everybody is doing a pretty good job of social distancing, and I think obviously that seems to be the key until we can get a vaccine. And every country in the world is on a race to that. So yeah, things have been going well here. We've got Amazon available for delivery as well, and hopefully as things open up, we keep on holding course and things get better and better. So let's hear from the other countries and hear what their response to lockdown has been like.
Hello, my name's Hayley. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa with my family. Here's some information regarding our lockdown. It started on the 26th of March at level 5. Level 5 basically meant only essential services were allowed to be out on the road, and certain shops were allowed to be open, food shops. They weren't allowed to sell any other items apart from food. So normally you get electrical items, clothing, all of that had to be taken away off the shelves. No hot food to be sold. And then if you were an essential service, as in a motor spares shop, you could only go by appointment as long as someone had an essential service certificate and required brake pads, batteries. You could not actually open your doors. Then there was a ban on alcohol and cigarettes. As I said, all clothing. No jogging. Even within a complex, you were not allowed to walk around a complex. At that stage, we didn't have compulsory mask wearing, but we do now. That coming from level 4, which came into effect on the 1st of May. They had said that they would sell cigarettes, tobacco, but the Deputy Minister came along and overturned that, which caused a very big problem for smokers and non-smokers. Now you can actually jog from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. You have to wear the masks. Food is now, hot food can now be sold and picked up or delivered. So it doesn't appear that bad, but we believe generally that it's much, much higher. They just can't do the amount of testing that is needed. It's not too bad, but it could be a lot worse. We had a speech from the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, on the 14th of May, extending the lockdown until the end of May, whereby certain areas could go into phase 3 of the lockdown, but that depends on hotspots, COVID-19 deaths, etc. Then we've had a speech from Mr. Patel, Ibrahim Patel, one of his ministers, regarding the sales of clothing. I'm just going to read from an excerpt, but t-shirts can be sold, but you can only wear them under jackets, coats, or knitted wear. Closed shoes cannot be bought. Flip-flops, not allowed. The other thing, so if you buy crop pants, which I assume is like shorts, you can only wear them with boots and leggings. I think it's shorts. It's called crop pants. You're not allowed to buy any towels. They're banned completely. And manufacturers are only allowed to manufacture winter wear, not any spring or summer, even though most manufacturers are now going into making their spring and summer clothing. They have changed the curfew at night from 8 p.m. To 7 p.m. So you all have to be in your homes at 7 p.m. The people are generally fed up. They need to get back to work. The middle class is the one that keeps the hub going, and they're the ones who they're not getting much relief, if any, and it's a very, very difficult time. So we shall see what happens on the 31st of May, and hope that they see sense. Wish you all well.
Hi, my name's Mandy and I live in a small city in southwest England, UK. Lockdown began for us on the 25th of March 2020. Lockdown meant for us the closing of most shops. Things like supermarkets stayed open, and any shop that was deemed a necessity, which was off licenses and places like that. But not pubs. Pubs were closed. Anywhere where we could socialise was closed. I noticed that bike shops were open and places like that, but then other shops were closed. It was rather random, to be honest. We were not allowed to travel to work unless it was necessary, and we couldn't work from home. And we could do one form of exercise, which was jog, walk or cycle. And you could do that with family or anyone that you lived with. Social distancing is very important, 6 feet away, and lots of hand washing and sanitising. Initially we had a lot of hoarding because people were afraid that there wouldn't be enough food, and it meant that a lot of NHS workers and people coming out of shifts were turning up at the supermarket and finding no food there. But that has been rectified now, and supermarkets have caught up with demand. Our biggest advice was to stay at home, and most people did that. But we have had 9,000 fines for those that didn't stay at home. And over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that bakeries and fast food shops have been allowed to open, but you have to queue outside, and the staff come and get the food that you want. Also, DIY stores have started to open, and the same thing. You can, the staff can get your products for you. Regarding masks, it's not compulsory, but people. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, has asked that all Londoners wear some sort of face covering, whether they've made it from home or wear a scarf or something. I think the government's afraid that the NHS will not have enough PPE and masks if everyone has to wear masks compulsory. Those who have had the virus are showing signs of antibodies, which is a good thing going forward. We also have in place government tracers who can, if you catch a virus, they are going to start tracing the people that you've had contact with, which South Korea was very good at doing in the beginning. The only other news we've had is that Oxford University, in partnership with AstraZeneca, US, Swedish and an old British ICI company, which is run by a passionate Frenchman, have a prototype for a coronavirus vaccine that they can take into volume production by autumn. Trials have to be validated. Hope you're all staying safe, and thank you.
Hi, this is Lalo from Lalo Style Travel Services, Mexico in Cancun. Just a little heads up about the situation going on here with this quarantine or lockdown. Most of our malls, bars, and nightclubs are closed to the public for obvious reasons. Our supermarkets are open. We can go get a grocery, beer, whatever we need for a daily basis. We're in home. Our kids have online classes, and we are able to go out for a walk, take our dogs for a walk, do some exercise. Of course, we have to take our measures because of what's going on, but we are doing good. Actually, we were named the second safest state within the country, which is great news for us and for you and for everyone, because that means that pretty soon we're going to be able to go back on business, hopefully starting June 1st, so we can welcome you, your guests, your customers, your family once more in this paradise. Please feel free to contact us or follow us on Facebook, Instagram.
Hey Christine, it's Alison. Hi from New Zealand. Thought I'd share with you a couple of thoughts we had around what it was like to be in New Zealand during these unprecedented times of the coronavirus. We've been pretty fortunate here. There've been some really strong government leadership around what the guidelines are and what we should and shouldn't do, so we've been pretty lucky from that perspective. My work was really responsible, and they had us leaving the offices probably before the lockdown occurred, about a week before the lockdown occurred at level 4. And level 4 here meant that only essential services were open, so only the grocery stores and, actually it was only the grocery stores and essential services. So they ramped up pretty well in terms of hospitals and telecenters and things like that. So it's been a reasonably easy transition. We were in level 4 lockdown for about 4 or 5 weeks, which was pretty astounding to see what actually went on in the economy during that time. But it was also rather interesting from a human perspective because people were out in the yards and we were allowed to go outside and exercise, but only within your community. So that was only within sort of a 4 or 5 block radius. And people were out on their bikes and kids were in their yards and dads and mums were playing with their kids. And we actually, had drinks on the deck across, with our neighbors who were on their deck. So, and we hadn't actually done that before. So there was a lot of creativity and there was a lot of really cool human connection that happened. So that was pretty awesome. Fortunately, the whole family stayed healthy, which was great. And after level 4 lockdown, after 4 or 5 weeks, we went into level 3, and we were in level 3 for another 2 or 3 weeks. And that meant that only essential services were open, but that you could get takeout food. So takeout food's kind of big in New Zealand, to be honest with you. So takeout was big, and a lot of people flocked to that. But going to the grocery store, still one person in, one person out. Any medications, you phoned ahead. If you had a pet that needed a vet, you had to phone ahead, and only one person was allowed in the facility at a time. So it's a good thing we're a small country with a smaller population, so we managed to get through all of that. What else can I tell you about that? We have gone into level 2 as of yesterday. Last night at midnight we went into level 2. Level 2 means that some of us can go back to the offices and the kids can go back to school. Some of the kids went back to school in level 3, but more are going back in level 2, and the daycares are now open. In level 3, they're only open for essential service workers. So kids are going back. There's been restaurants are open, but they're only seating. You have to be seated to eat. You can't stand at a bar. No bars are open. And social distancing within the restaurants means that there's only sort of half the number of people that were allowed in the restaurants before are allowed in now. So I think Kiwis have been pretty magnificent, actually, in terms of adhering to it. I mean, obviously there's some fractions that haven't been as adhering as they should have been, but I think that the majority of us have felt fairly safe in terms of our government's responses to it. Hi and bye from Kiwiland.